Brian and Becca here with the Profit Roadmap. And as always, this is the premier podcast created for field service pros to help you grow your business, stay on top of the latest trends, and help you provide even more value to the communities that you serve. Today, we are super excited to be sitting down with Kyle Gargaro from ACHR News to talk about industry trends, the future of HVAC, and that's just the beginning. Kyle, welcome back to the Profit Roadmap. Welcome to the Profit Roadmap. Welcome back next time.
Thanks for having me. That must mean I'm going to do a good job and going to invite me back. So I'm in.
Yeah, we decided during the pre-show we're going to have you back already.
Yes,
we started talking about football and the Lions and everything. So
you're already coming back for sure.
So Kyle, welcome to the Profit Roadmap. How you doing today? Can you tell us a little bit about your background with ACHR and how you came to be in the spot that you're in?
Sure. Yeah, not a problem. Journalism major in college, so got always liked writing. Got in the newspaper world. Did a few local newspapers. I'm out here in Detroit, and then in 2004, there was an associate editor job at the ACHR News, and at that point, my HVAC knowledge was I knew where my air conditioner was and I knew where my furnace was, and that's all I knew. So I was a little nervous going in, but they say it's a lot easier to teach HVAC to someone who has a career in writing than vice versa. So 20 years later, I'm editorial director of the ACHR News, so it worked out well for me and hopefully for them too.
Nice. Well, someone who reads ACHR from time to time, I think you're doing a great job.
Appreciate it.
No problem, man. Yeah. All right, so let's dive right into it. So let's start with talking about the overall health of the HVAC industry in regards to shipments. What should HVAC businesses maybe expect in the coming months? Yeah,
there's I guess two parts: residential, commercial. Maybe I'll handle the residential side first. Does that make sense? It's weird. It's in good health, but it doesn't feel that way because we kind of had inflated numbers for a year for a few years with COVID. Well, there are two reasons. One, COVID hit, right? Everyone moved into their homes, but we're spending a lot more time in their homes and started to notice that they want to be a little more comfortable with humidification, dehumidification, that sort of thing. Obviously, indoor air quality was certainly a big issue, and everyone had some money in their pocket, right? Because some people were getting money from the government, and other people, they weren't going on vacations, they weren't eating out, so they kind of invested in their home. So I think that pulled a lot of business that might have happened in the next few years could kind of forward. And the other part is we get our shipments from AHRI. So that's how we kind of see how the industry is doing. We don't know how many of those are being installed, but we just figure those are being shipped are being installed. Mm-hmm. And 2005, 2006 was a really great year. And then you remember, 7 and 8, the Great Recession, things went down. So it was a little cyclical too, right? You go 15, 20 years ago, if a lot of things are installed, that's usually the shelf life of an air conditioner or furnace. So in 15, 20 years, things kind of need to be replaced again. So it's kind of a double win for the industry in the fact that COVID made it a good opportunity to sell more product. And also it was kind of, the numbers said, hey, it was time for people to replace as well. So a long-winded way of saying, we're down from those years, but we're just right back to we were in 2019. So it is in good health, but it feels like it isn't in as much good health because the last couple of years were certainly such gangbusters. On the commercial side, they did see Hardy gave me a number when I was looking at it a couple months ago, a 13% growth. So commercial is real legit. We're going year over year up, so we're feeling really good about that. But the industry in general is really in a good place.
Nice. I like the way you phrased that. I hadn't heard it put that way. That it was sort of that business got brought forward. I think that's a pretty good perspective to have on it because some people were like, maybe this is just how it's going to be now.
Yeah.
And now that we're sort of stabilizing, things are more or less back to normal. It's not necessarily the case. So
without a doubt. Yep.
So in your experience, what are some of the biggest trends that you guys are seeing in the HVAC industry nowadays?
Sure. One of the trends, maybe kind of piggyback on that now, is it's becoming more of a repair versus replace market because a lot were changed out in the last few years. A lot of the ones that were, on the back nine, so to say, have already been replaced. So people are more more in the repair mode. And also the economics have caught up with us a little bit. Inflation from an HVAC standpoint, right? Things are getting more expensive, products get more expensive, employees are getting more expensive, so the customer has to pay more money for that. And also they're paying more money for gas and bananas and kids' education and that sort of thing. So they don't have, the consumer confidence is down a little bit, so they don't have as much motivation to replace rather than repair. Not that HV contractors they can certainly make money on repairs. It's just it tends to be a lot easier to do it on a replacement. And of course, the heat pump and decarbonization trend is very big with the government pushing that. But those are the two big ones that we really see in the industry when we're writing.
Do you see any? This might be a little random, but I was reading something about this within an HVAC company, like data centers. Like a lot of them more and more popping up for Google, these like softwares, and they need to cool their systems. Like, do you see that as an avenue for like on the commercial side for HVAC companies?
Yeah, that's a lot, and that kind of plays right in the COVID world too, right? We're streaming a lot more.
Right.
All these meetings are on Zooms and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that is a big deal because those are something that can't go down. It's almost kind of related to healthcare as well, which is another market that's growing. So yeah, it's tougher to get into for contractors. Sometimes it's a little daunting to do that. But if they can and if they match up with a manufacturer, JCI of the world, it can be really advantageous for them. So yeah, no, I completely agree with that.
Quick aside, whenever we talk to somebody in the HVAC industry, I always like to ask where they stand on calling it HVAC or HVAC. I've met some passionate individuals on both sides of the game. So where do you fall?
I'm HVAC, and because when I first started, we had a publisher who had been here a long time, was really in the industry, John Conrad, and he lectured me about not calling it HVAC. If you're in the industry, you have to call it HVAC. So it's funny that you guys are bringing it up. What's the is it usually a 50-50 when you take this poll, or is there a leader in the clubhouse?
I haven't recorded like metrics anywhere, but anecdotally, it feels about 50-50, which means the debate's not going away anytime soon.
And the other part of it is the R part, right? Because refrigeration's a big part of it. So then they feel left out. They don't put in. So we'll add a third one to the mix, I guess.
Yeah. So you mentioned carbonization, electrification, reducing CO2 emissions, and the government's push towards that. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. It's a trend that's been going for a while, both on the commercial and residential side. And it's obviously, they're trying to get us off of gas, get us off carbon, go more electric. It's really getting pushed from a government standpoint. Locally, so I know some cities in California are trying to ban gas in new construction, and when does that become retrofit? Not quite sure. Also, legislation on the state level. California again, they tend to be the leaders when we're going in this direction. But on the federal government, more incentivizing. The Inflation Reduction Act that was passed, I think it's 2 years now. Heavy incentives for heat pumps and geothermal especially on the residential side. So it is means tested based on how much the income of the household is. But certain people can get $7,000-$8,000 in tax credits for putting in a heat pump. So I feel like the government's really invested in that. We'll see what happens here in November if it continues that trend. That's obviously a more Democratic thing than Republican. But at this point, the toothpaste is out of the tube a little bit. Not quite sure how we'd be able to go back, but it just might not move as quickly. The manufacturers are certainly on board. There is a cold climate heat pump challenge, and back in the day, it really didn't work in cold climates, and it has a bad reputation in that regard. But the manufacturers invested a lot of time and money to make sure up here in Michigan a heat pump can work, and it's a little bit of a marketing thing too, because we're in the industry, so we realize heat pumps are heat and cooling, but trying to sell someone else a heat pump for cool, there's a little education the contractors need to do. Contractors are a little less on board, I would say. They're the ones that are facing the customer, have to explain this to them, are the ones that maybe have been burned by a cold climate heat pump in the past, and are the ones that have to answer the questions from the homeowners. And also, it's limiting the choice a little bit, which us here in America don't like as much. So they're also the ones talking about, I always have a gas furnace. Why my parents had a gas furnace. My grandparents had a gas furnace. Why are we doing this? So it's a little more of a learning curve and a tougher time on contractors. They're the last ones in the food chain here. And then also the issue of the grid, which is a little beyond my comprehension, but a lot of people talk about, well, we can't just move everyone to electrical because we don't have the infrastructure to do that. And some parts of the country, electric is very expensive, so you might end up putting something in that is not saving. That was always when we got up like on SEER level or more highly efficient furnace. Well, every month you're going to be saving X amount of money, so eventually your return on investment in 5 years, this furnace will pay for itself. That's not necessarily the case with the heat pumps because of electric costs in different parts of the country. That's where we're going. I just feel from like contractors feel like, hey, we're going a little too fast. Maybe we should slow down, because as with anything in government, there's often unintended consequences.
Oh,
Yeah, beautifully put.
Yeah.
Do you see it as there needs for the scale of how they're wanting to transition and for what we can really do right now, there needs to be maybe a heavier influence from states or federal to make it easier to do this, or really invest in helping with this?
Yeah, I think it is more on the state and local level. One, because they just get more done than the federal government,
Yes,
which is,
yeah.
like it. Plus they know their area better and can invest in the grid and that sort of thing. I kind of equate. I mean, it's really equated to the electric vehicles, right? They're incentivized and people want to buy them, but I do hear some people say, "Well, geez, I have to plan my trip over where the charging stations are." So I think everyone agrees with the technology, but this makes sure the infrastructure is kind of up. So that's a great point. Like locally and state, they're able to handle it more than the federal government. Even with the federal government, they threw it back to the states with the Inflation Reduction Act on how they're going to pay. So they said, no, it's going to be $7,000, $8,000 for the heat pump for this. The states, you figure out how to pay it. So that's why we're 2 years in, and only 2 states, I believe New York and Wisconsin, have a program up and running now, because it's difficult to do.
Okay.
Yeah,
But it is nice. Sorry to interrupt you. But it is nice that consumers know a little more because they're hearing about the IRA and the tax credit, and I see it more in mainstream media. So it might come, we call kind of bottom up, right, where maybe homeowners are asking about it a little bit. So that should help contractors a little bit.
Yeah, I think that level of curiosity is something that makes those conversations just easier to have. So,
Yep.
Yeah. But you're right, though. Like, this is something that we've been hearing about because, we're inside the industry. So, like, we hear about it for a couple of years now. And I haven't, down in Florida at least, I haven't seen too much in that actually develop. So,
yeah. Well, in Florida, it was interesting. Your governor, probably for political reasons again, wasn't going to take the money for a while. And now they've decided to take the money. So it can get very political very fast on both ends. So
I just want people to be comfortable in their homes, man.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I feel bad for the contractors who have to keep track of, hey, this works, especially people that are on the border, right? This works in Florida, but I can't do it in Georgia. I can do it in Michigan, but I can't do it in Ohio and stuff. So it's a little bit of an issue, but the industry always responds.
Absolutely.
So let's take it more like in an economic direction. So COVID, the Great Recession back in 2008, we've seen that HVAC or HVAC-R, if you are so inclined, has proven to be something that's pretty recession resistant. It's an essential service, regardless. Like, people are still going out. We're like we got to work. So we've been getting a lot of attention from private investors because of that. So is that something that you guys have seen any sort of trend with the investment or anything like that, as far as private equity goes?
Yeah, no, private equity has put a lot of money into the HVAC industry. And you're right. One of the main reasons was because during COVID, they realized we're an essential service. And even if you're going to repair instead of replace, you're in Florida, you're going to need an air conditioner, or else your life is going to be miserable. And I guess I could go without an air conditioner in Michigan. I wouldn't want to, but I certainly couldn't go without a furnace in the winter. And the other thing they saw was how fragmented the industry was, the contracting industry. Right, there's a bunch of, there wasn't a a big conglomerate, or there are a few franchises, but nothing where there's Home Depot or Lowe's in the home improvement market. There was all kind of some mom and pop, some bigger people, but independent. So they saw that as an opportunity. And I'm old, but not this old. But I did hear about in the 90s. I was in college, was not in the industry, but there was a similar kind of thing where there was a conglomerate buying up HVAC contractors, and that did not go well at all. And they kind of learned their lesson. So a lot of the private equity is making sure the owner stays on for a couple of years, make sure they have that institutional knowledge. What happened last time is they said, okay, here's your money, you go. And they're like, well, to be honest, the contractor is the business in a lot of these businesses. They're the name, they know the market. And when you lose that institutional knowledge, it's an issue. And actually, a lot of contractors in the 90s came back and bought their business for pennies on the dollars. So that, whoever was buying it overpaid and then had to sell it for pennies on the dollars, and the contractor got their business back. So it's good for the contractor, but obviously the investors were a little nervous. So they seem to be doing it the right way now. One of the, again, unintended consequences, or consequence, I should say, is the smaller guys are going to have to decide or kind of figure out how to work against the bigger conglomerates that are sharing marketing and human resources and just can do more, because they're keeping the names, which is smart. Flame Furnace here in Detroit has a great name, great reputation, so they shouldn't, if they get bought out, you don't change your name, people know who you are. But it is going to be interesting how the smaller independent folks keep up with it and make sure there's a place in the market for them. But yeah, it's been going on for 5 or 6 years. Eventually that bubble's going to burst, like any bubble bursts. But for right now, a lot of contractors are making a lot more money than they thought they could get for their business than they thought maybe 10 years ago or so.
Absolutely. And I think for those smaller guys that do remain independent, I mean, that potentially that could be a marketing point for them,
Yeah, that's a niche, I think.
Yeah, it's sponsor the little league team. Hey, we're better at customer service. We, our names, we're in the community and that kind of thing. There certainly is a market for that. Another thing they have to fight too is getting product. Not as big of an issue as it was during COVID, obviously. But if you're a distributor or manufacturer, you're going to take care of the big guys rather than the small guys. Just that's any business, right? We're going to take care of the people that are mean more to our bottom line. So that's an issue as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd be interested to know, in a couple of years, sort of after things have resolved themselves, sort of like what that experience is like from the consumer standpoint. Like when you call, a big private equity company versus, the guys that are still mom and pop, what that experience is going to look like. Because personally, right, like I'd rather not call the call center and go through all that and you build those relationships. And I think that's something that our industry has been pretty good at over the years.
Yeah, without a doubt. It'll be interesting. Yeah, it's a good point. Because obviously the private equity is hoping that their businesses continue with that small kind of thing. But you could want to, and if you do, it's two completely different things. So see if they can kind of hang on to that, and if that's a little area where the smaller guys can exploit.
Absolutely. So talking about that, changes in the business. One of the things that's going to be a problem, whether someone comes in with private equity or not, is the workforce.
Yes.
So it's been a talking point for years at this point, but statistically speaking, right, we know that the HVAC profession, just as a whole, is aging. A decent chunk of that workforce is reaching the retirement age. There's, in my opinion, not enough new entrances into the HVAC industry, despite it's a great career path. Anyway, you're listening to a podcast about HVAC and industries and stuff. So yeah, I'm going to tell you that, but it really genuinely is. So I guess let me resolve this with a question. With the ongoing workforce shortage that we do see here in the HVAC sector, are there any strategies that you might recommend for businesses that are looking to either keep their best technicians or maybe bring some new blood into the industry?
Yeah, important issue. And like I said, I've been with the ACHR News 20 years, and we've been writing about this for 20 years. So it was an issue. I don't know how long the issue goes back, but it certainly goes back to 2004. Although I think the industry has gotten a lot better and a lot more sophisticated in recruiting in the last, I'd say, 10 years than when we first started off. A few things to do. First, market to prospective employees, just like you would market to homeowners. You can, on your social media, on your website, job fairs at the career fairs rather at the high school. Certainly an opportunity to do that. I know a lot of contractors are having success on Instagram. I have high school kids. They're on Instagram. I'm kind of on Instagram. I really don't know how it works, so I'm probably not the person to ask. But I do. And a lot of the younger generation HVAC contractors are having great success there. Matt Michelle told me this years ago, and I think it still holds true on recruiting. Well, the example doesn't work as well because he always gave me the Alabama football example. This was before they started, everyone could start paying players with the NIL and that kind of stuff. But he said, what does the weight room at Alabama look like? What does the nutrition area look like? What does the stadium look like? That those are ways where you separate yourself from the other schools, and that would be an HVC. Like, hey, do you pay for a gym membership? Do you have them, bring in breakfast once a week before they go out? Do you have like a game room with just like ping pong tables and video games and stuff they want to hang out after? Like, it's the low hanging fruit stuff. Like, how much does a pancake breakfast cost? But if someone comes in and you're interviewing, hey, yeah, we have a good, we have competitive pay, and actually, we have a game room where all the guys like to hang out after, and once a week we have a pancake breakfast. I don't know, it might move the needle a little bit. So that's one thing also. And a lot of contractors are incentivizing employees to bring people in. So, Ryan, you bring your buddy in, so they're more apt to join you because you've kind of vetted the company already. They're more apt to stay because there's a little bit of skin in the game. And you kind of take them under your wing because you're getting paid whatever $1,000 to bring them in, and then $500 every year they stay. And if you told a contractor, hey, you'll get a great employee, you have to pay $1,000 to get them, and then $500 every year to make sure he's there, that's easy money. I mean, that's compared to the amount it takes you to train somebody or get somebody in. That's that's a really good return on your investment. My answers are long-winded here, but one more point on this. Veterans and women are two areas that I see contractors having an opportunity that maybe they don't know about the opportunities there. But once they're in, it's more often than not, it works out for the contractors. So those would be two that you kind of focus in on when you are doing your marketing.
That's an interesting one. Because I was going to ask, do you think accessibility could be an issue or like a roadblock, and then people may not know? It's something like women a lot of times aren't told about that and don't think it's an issue. And in the past, it might not have been the most friendly environment to come into 25, 30 years ago. But again, the industry's made a lot of changes. Even something as simple as uniforms, right? They were like, well, no, you have to have different uniforms for women because they're they wear things differently. So I think the industry is in a great position to tap into that market. And veterans are obviously folks that have served the country and organized, and just a lot of great traits that they have, and are coming back and looking for an opportunity. And like we said, and again, preaching to the choir on this HVC podcast, but you go to trade school, you don't have whatever $100,000 in debt, you're making good money, so starting out. And what I like to tell people, which I don't think the industry brings up as much, is it's a pathway to ownership, to running your own business. Like, I don't know another industry where you can, hey, I'm good at the technical part of it. I get in a company, I do well, I'm a service manager. It's easier because they're smaller, to go up, be service manager, and then VP and that kind of stuff, and go start your own business. If you're it's a lot harder in other businesses to start your own business. So I feel like maybe entrepreneurs that want to start their own business, HVC is a great option. Absolutely. And I think that's another good point, where just because we're on this podcast a lot and I consume content a lot, there is like a whole generation of younger kids who might not be able to afford going to college, or may not want to go to college with finances and all of that. Like you said, you make good money. You can make in trades work. And I think just showing that, like, show it on YouTube, make a YouTube video, like show how much money you can make, or just it can be a good career and a path to owning your own business one day. So I know it used to be kind of like not a sexy thing to be
Yeah.
like a HVAC or HVAC or plumber, things like that, but it's a great career. And I think I'm seeing a shift in that mindset.
And I feel the worms turned a little bit on college too. Like people
Yes.
are like, hey, these prices are getting a little out of control here, and the
Yes.
debt is out of control. So people are looking at college more skeptically, rightfully so. Not that there's anything, I went to college, and my oldest is figuring out college now, so not that there's anything against it, but it's not for everybody. And there is going to be a debt associated with that, so you have to know. So I think that is something that HVAC industry can leverage. Hey, one, we're essential. One, it can't get outsourced. Someone has to be in that basement with that furnace. It can't be outsourced to India or another country. And of course, you can make good money with it.
Yeah, it is definitely something that I think should be explored. Yeah, we have a local high school here that has like an HVAC program. Well, they had
That's
an HVAC
awesome.
program when I was in high school, so that was 2013. But like that's crazy to me to think that like you could in the schools have that developed and everything, and like you take it as an elective. But I think getting younger people involved in the trades, or just at least aware that the trades are a path that they can take.
Yes.
Kyle, you'd mentioned it could be a path to ownership. That's close to my heart because that's the path that my brother-in-law has taken through his life as a plumber, and it's I'm glad that it's starting to get the recognition that it is getting, because it is a very valid way to live your life and provide for your family and do very well for yourself.
And I would advise for contractors to kind of combine the last two topics we talk about, like workforce development and getting more people into the industry and trade school stuff. Make sure you have a close relationship with the trade school or the high school if they're doing HVAC, because be in there helping them teach, or maybe if you're a carrier, good contractor, you can work it out where you get some equipment there or something. So then you get the pick of the litter, so to say. Come graduation season, you're in there and they're familiar with your company, and while the guy down the street is struggling for workforce, you're just picking out the people that are from the tech school every year. So it's probably a wise time investment for contractors.
Absolutely. You mentioned veterans earlier. This was probably over a year ago now, but we had Train on at one point to talk about the Trade Warriors program.
Yeah.
Which is they take active duty military that are about to leave the service, and then they train them on HVAC so that they can line them up with jobs as they're coming out of service. That's another super awesome thing. So if you're a train dealer, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So let's keep talking about the youth. So for those just starting out in the HVAC industry, maybe they've finally made that tradition or that transition from technician to owner or like VP or whatever it is. What advice might you give them to help them really get a strong foundation, stand out in their market?
I would say if you're just starting out, join an association, or join multiple associations. There's a lot of good one. ACCA is obviously a very good one. Nexstar, Service Roundtable. They provide a lot of good information. And if you did go that route, right, you didn't have a business background, you just went the technician route and stuff. You might be need some education on the business side of it. So those are organizations that can certainly help you out. And the good part of those are national organizations, so you're not really going to the guy down the street to help you out because he's your competitor, but you can go to the ACHA meeting. Or I know Service World Expo here is coming up for Service Roundtable. I'm going to that, I think in October. But now someone from Michigan to talk to someone in Texas, hey, what are you doing with your marketing? And they're more apt to share their information. So I would certainly say join an association and learn that. And also make sure, depends how big your crew is, but make sure you invest in training for your employees. If you're just starting out, you probably can't do this, but the end game, probably the end goal, a lot of contractors doing is have their own contractor university within their business where they're teaching them exactly how you want to do it. Because if you train them and you educate them and you let them advance their career, they're much likely to stay and help you in your business. So I'd say make sure you invest in training for your employees and make sure you train yourself. So I don't know if that's 2 ideas or 1 idea under simple training, but that would be my advice.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And working with my I don't record podcasts all the time, so my day job, I guess we could call it, is working with Field Services Academy, and there is a wealth of knowledge that field service business owners, HVAC, lawn care, be surprised at the synergies between those markets. But I find that it's either like they're open books in terms of how they want to share their operations and everything, or they're completely closed off. But the ones that I see do the best are the ones that are open to having conversations with other people. And maybe don't ask your direct competitor in your same town exactly how they do everything.
Don't give the secret sauce.
You can't take their formula and apply it because you've got different people, so it doesn't quite work like that. But definitely agree, Kyle, on like joining some sort of organization to have a level of community. I think that is very, very powerful, and I've seen the power of it every day.
What's the training you find is most important that you guys give out that's most interesting for the contractors?
Man, so we do a lot of like are you talking about on the academy side?
Yeah.
So the academy side, we focus a lot on like the actual business side of it. So we're very familiar with the path that we were talking about, where you basically have a technician, he works his way up and he either starts his own or he acquires a business through that realm. But usually what's lacking is like you said, the business side. So that's usually what we teach in terms of like what our most like popular sessions and stuff are. Most of them are around hiring. So just getting guys. You'd be surprised the number of people that show up to probably the more dry topics, like accounting related stuff.
Yeah.
And then actually a thing that we did recently that was super, super exciting. We actually had a session that was designed for women in the trades, and it was super, super cool to see how many women in the trades showed up to that, because it's been historically a very male dominated space, and just seeing how many people there are and then the way that they come in, they support each other. Super, super cool. So if you guys are interested in Field Services Academy, we have a free group. We'll go ahead and we'll put it in the show notes. You guys can join it there. You can check it out. We do a lot of webinars and educational stuff. Kyle, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, no, absolutely interesting.
Yeah. Thank you for asking me a question. It's nice to flip that script a little bit.
That doesn't happen often.
I'm a journalist. It's just in my blood. I can't go a half hour, 45 minutes, whatever, without asking a question. So I got it in. I'll go back. Yeah.
I love it.
Well, that's great. Let's talk tech. So, like you'd mentioned, you can outsource it. All right, everybody, check your AI bingo space. It comes up every single topic, so I joke that it's on our bingo sheet. But so technology that's being developed, we got smart home systems. We talked about energy efficient solutions. Go back to the heat pumps and everything. What opportunities and challenges do you think those sort of that evolving tech landscape present to service providers?
Sure. One, again, not to keep on going back to workforce, but it does make it interesting for recruiting, in that you're not just turning a wrench. Smart homes and technology, like it's an interesting. The younger generation obviously grew up on technology and wants to be involved in technology, so it is a selling point in that regard. It does offer the contractor, going back to how it helped the contractor, to own the home, to make sure you're in for. I mean, the thermostat was kind of the entry point, right? And I feel like that really raised the awareness of HVAC, because now you see a Nest at, I don't know, they're Best Buys anymore, but at the time there's a Best Buys or on Amazon or stuff. So it got out of just the HVAC distributor kind of warehouse and got people aware of thermostats. But now that offers them an opportunity to get into a lot of other things, whether it be, like you're talking your garage door or, security, or even, remember the guy from Nest was at one of the meetings I was at, and say, just start installing those Ring doorbells. Do you have any idea how many people have them? No one knows no one wants to install it, and there's no one out there that's their job to install it. It's just an easy markup and kind of a low-hanging fruit. So different ways that expand your business, and even put, smart home on your truck. I do, heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and smart homes, just so you're branding yourself as smart homes. And obviously technology is going to affect and make things easier, hopefully, when you reference AI, on responding to customers and interacting with customers and doing your marketing. And that's the AI conversation that every industry has to have. What's going to save money and help, and what's going to do more harm than good and alienate customers. And maybe it goes back to what we talked about before, how the the smaller businesses can leverage themselves a little bit by not using AI and actually using a person doing the chat online or whatever. But it's changing very quick. Technology, things are getting a lot more efficient. That's certainly that, and that means cost is going up as well. So technology is affecting the industry in a huge way.
Have you seen contractors embrace that a lot more in their businesses, or would you say it's still kind of traditional in the way of how much of it is integrated in their day to day?
Are you talking like in the AI sense in running your day to day business?
AI or just using technology in general? Because I know that was a thing we spoke about as well before in a previous podcast. Is if you want to get some of the younger employees in your business having like iPads or things like that they're used to using instead of pen and paper, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, AI as well.
Yeah. No, I think the good ones are, I mean, let's be honest, a few are just running out the clock. Hey, I got a couple years left. I'm not going to kind of embrace this. But I'd be surprised, like, because we obviously, ACHR News, we have a print edition and we have a digital edition. You can get one or the other. And I stereotype, but, inevitably I'll be at a show and a 25-year-old will grab the print issue and say, oh, I love the print. And a 70-year-old will talk about the digital edition, so it's I think HVC is almost like how the media business, you have to be everywhere. You have to, we have to have the website, the print edition, the e-newsletter, the podcast, the video, the social media, and contractors do too. They need to have the billboard marketing as well as the social media marketing. So, I think a lot are getting into it as businesses turn over. I call it, right? The father leaves it to the son, the grandfather leaves it to the grandson or whatever. You see it a lot more, but the HVC industry does not move as quickly as some of the other industries. So I feel like I talked a lot and didn't answer your question. But,
no, you're great. No,
the ones who are doing it right are doing it, and that's when I talk about joining associations, because it is daunting. To figure all this out, AI, social media, it's not only using the technology, is how do we produce enough content to feed the beast. So it is a way, and there are a lot of organizations out there. Actually, BNP Media has one, BNP Engage, that helps contractors post to their social media and do their marketing and that sort of thing. So just partner with somebody that will help you through that.
Very nicely said. Yes. You answered my question.
Good. I figure if I talk enough, eventually I'll hit on whatever you want, right?
No.
It's like accuracy by volume.
Exactly. That was my basketball career too. I only scored 10 points, but I take a lot of shots. I'll get
there you go.
As long as you get the points, this is what matters.
Exactly. Yeah. Only miss the shots that you don't take. That's right.
That's right. Yep.
So go ahead, Becca.
No. I was just going to pivot to green. Well, kind of the same kind of topic with the push for greater energy efficiency and sustainability impacting the HVAC industry. What are some of the promising green technologies and practices you've seen emerging?
I would say we talked before, like the tax incentives, the decarbonization, so the heat pump of the world are certainly. Ductless has gained a lot of traction in the last 15 years. We kind of forget that the rest of the world has been using, like, we're the outliers here in the United States, right? In Europe and Asia, ductless has been the technology of choice for years and years and years. Obviously, that's why the Daikins and the Mitsubishis are, big players here now in the U.S. in that regard. And one that that is an older technology, but seems to maybe could be having their day is geothermal. So, it's been around since the 70s. It still only has 2 or 3% of the market share. But they were in the IRA too, the incentives, and with the awareness of energy efficiency in the government backing it, I feel like it is a real opportunity for geothermal to gain market share as well. Now that is a heavier lift. You're digging in the ground for either ground or water, so it's obviously a bigger price point than heat pumps from the jump. But it is, I mean, it's saving you a lot of energy every month, and would be enticing when you're trying to sell your home. That you've already made the investment, and energy cost is really low in that environment.
Fascinating. I would consider that one. Geothermal lab.
Yep, the water furnaces of the world, Enertech, Climate Master, a lot of companies, as well as your carriers and trains and stuff. So a lot of companies are doing great things in that market as well.
Yeah, geothermal doesn't come up too often, but I think it's cool.
Yeah, it is neat. It is neat.
So we talked about the government and just incentives and everything. For any of our HVAC/R contractors, is there any upcoming legislation that you guys have on your radar that you think professionals should be aware of?
Yeah, we can get at the R there a little bit. The refrigerant transition in 2025, yes. Going from R410A to the A2Ls, based on government rules in that regard too. But contractors really got to get up to speed with that. It's the term I'm sure you've heard and has been said, mildly flammable. Debatable, mildly flammable. I almost feel like there should be a different word, because it seems, I get one side, it's like mildly flammable. That's, what are you talking about? Flammable is flammable.
It's binary.
But then it's also, but then people think about it, they're thinking that it's propane too, and they're thinking their gas grill that, blows when the burger grease hits or whatever. And that's certainly not the case. But there is, you might need some new tools, how to transport this, how to educate customers about it, because new equipment again can be more expensive, but not in the next couple of years. But eventually, R410A is going to be tougher to find when you're trying to top it off on a repair kind of situation. I would certainly put the plug with the reclaim and refrigerant is very important. The contractors should be doing. To make sure, first of all, you can make money on it, and second, to make sure there is enough refrigerant going forward. So that's certainly a big transition that contractors need to be aware of. And the government's always involved, right? Like there's some overtime rules that were just passed that contractors would want to bone up on. Again, I don't know all the details, but if you make under a certain amount of money, you're going to have to, pay overtime. So a lot of business management type of rules that, again, if you get association, that they'll get you up to speed. But from a HVC specific, the refrigerant transition is the one that they really should be thinking about.
Yeah, I've heard. I've seen some posts about it on ACHR. So
yeah, we have
trying to stay on top of it.
Yeah, we have a refrigerant section on our website. We try to do as many stories. If you put refrigerant and heat pumps on an article, I've noticed it gets a lot of clicks. That's what people are interested in. But yeah, we have a wealth of information up there, as well as kind of other associations and manufacturers too. They're deciding what between R32 and R454B, which refrigerant they're using. So they can certainly educate contractors as well.
So, in your time with ACHR, has there been a consistent topic where, anytime it comes across your desk, you're just super excited about it?
It depends. I say multiple trends through the year. Like I talk, workforce development has been there for a while. Getting excited about it might be overblowing it a little bit, because I've written about it for 20 years. But yeah, anything, the heat pump and the decarbonization, I found a very interesting trend. We love, like we talked about before, following the private equity money. So anything that's is changing the industry, because we certainly want. We say as a publication, we want to be looking about 6-9 months in advance to kind of give a heads up, so our contractors give a heads up. We want to write about anything that's going to help them make their money in their business. So that's the stuff that gets us excited.
Any strange trends or myths you have to debunk? Come across your desk?
Good question. We just talked about that all these refrigerants are going to be blowing up at 90 degrees. Is certainly one. I can't think of another one off the top of my head, but I'll keep it in the back of my mind as we continue the conversation. Yeah, but the refrigerant one would be the one. Yeah. Oh yeah, here's another one. How much there seems to be a lack of knowledge of how much your local government can affect your day-to-day business. People kind of get wrapped up in Trump Harris, which obviously is the federal government is involved in HVAC a lot, and it's certainly going to influence it. But as far as building codes and tax rates, that kind of stuff, you pay attention to your local government too, because they can either make it a very pleasant business climate or a not very pleasant business climate. So that would be one that is a little under the radar as well.
Yeah. Is that something that is easy or difficult for local businesses to get involved with, the local government?
I think it's a little harder, but it's more beneficial. A little harder in that it's a lot easier. If I wanted to find, what Trump's opinion is on geothermal, it'd be very easy to figure it out. Or even a senator running, it'd be easy to figure out. Local, there's just not as many. Local newspapers have gone away a little bit for the most part, so it's harder to find that information. But you're able to influence it a lot more. Like again, Trump doesn't care about your 50 employees I'm in Rochester Hills, Michigan. The state senator does care about those 50 employees in Rochester, Michigan. So you can really influence it a lot more, but it is harder to get the information.
Yeah, beautifully put. But a worthwhile time investment for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
Invest locally.
So there's been a shift towards indoor air quality. What are you seeing as far as HVAC companies adapting their services or offerings to accommodate that?
Yeah, again, COVID kind of spurred that a little bit and kind of got it on everyone's radar. But a lot more contractors are doing it and making money on it. It's just as simple as adding it on at the end. Like you're you're coming out for a call, the air conditioner is broken, maybe the furnace broken, whatever it is. So you're going to bid on it. Just like you put a humidifier or dehumidifier, it doesn't have to be separate. Put it in the thing, and they can always say, I don't want that. And I wish I knew the stat. April Lahare had a great stat. Like if you put it on your, it was like somewhere around 70%. You put it on the bid, and 70% are going to say yes. So why wouldn't you do it? So certainly there's a lot of great companies out there doing it. I don't think it's not like it's very rare for a homeowner to call you and say, hey, and I feel like there's a humidification problem here, so I want you out here. But it's something where you're replacing the system to bring to their attention, and just explain to them how important humidity level is to comfort. Because, well, I'm sure I know, Ryan, you said you're in Florida, right? So I'm sure 90 degrees and humid is completely. I was in Vegas a couple weeks ago. It was 110, and it was hot, but it wasn't as bad as if I'm out in Florida at 90 degrees, right? Because the humidity and stuff. So it's not hard for people to get their heads around that comfort level is really connected to humidity, and that's certainly a part of IAQ. The other part, making sure the air is very healthy. And to be honest, how many issues of health America has, allergies and this sort of thing. So it's just for contractors or salespeople when they go into the home to be aware. See, do they have pets? That's an opportunity. Do they, do you have anyone in the house have asthma? Like there's ways to open that door and sell it. But I think long-winded, the industry's getting a lot better at doing that, and the contractors that do are more profitable. It's the same kind of thing with financing, right? Like if you offer financing, you're going to get you're probably going to get more money out of that sale. So it doesn't take that much to do it. The worst they can say is no.
Yeah, and it's a simple thing. You bring up a good point, like educate your client. Like I know here in Texas, allergies are horrible. If you have pets, just the pollution, so a lot of breathing problems. So use some fun education, like in newsletters or marketing online, or when you're obviously face to face with your customer. Just educate them on, did you know that installing this could fix that? Or yeah,
that's right. And on social media, right? Because they just don't want your ad on $99 for this service. But if you give them some information on, hey, here's 5 ways to, get through allergy season or whatever it is, and then you get your information better, that can move the needle.
Absolutely.
It's a good point.
Absolutely. We talked about generating content. Education is an amazing way to generate content. Talked to a lot of contractors, and they're like, no one wants to hear about this stuff. I promise they do.
They do. Yeah.
They really do. And
Yep.
especially with the rise of like short form content. So talk about like Instagram, TikTok, obviously the big one. Like you can put together a piece of content for that pretty quickly, pretty low, pretty like you don't need a budget really. Do video talking about different types of filters and just show them like that. There you go. Free content from Ryan. Profit roadmap. You don't have to mention me. There's no royalties involved. But that sort of thing, you can do that. I had a point. I forgot what it was.
I bet it was great.
It was so good.
Oh, man. You almost don't want to say it because in our mind it's a greater point than it probably was.
That's right there. It was
content.
Oh, okay. I got it. Cool. All right, we're good. So, basically, the reason I bring that up, the education portion of it, is I find that in our industry and in similar industries that sales is like a bad word. Technicians don't want to be salespeople. But I think that's a mindset issue. So hear me out on this and tell me if I'm crazy, right? Don't sell stuff to people. Just offer them the solutions they need or that you think would genuinely be helpful. Because at the end of the day, like if you come into someone's house and you try to sell them some stuff they don't need, like they're going to feel that out and they're probably not going to like you very much. But like if you come into my house and I'm like, I have asthma and allergies and 3 cats. And also I'm allergic to cats. And you're like, hey, here are some things that we can do to, help you breathe a little better. I'm going to be significantly interested in those things and I'll pay the money to be able to breathe because believe it or not, breathing is important.
Yeah.
I think the good contractors are doing that and they're not, and you're right. Salesperson gets a bad name from, car sales or HV sales or whatever it is. That's why, a lot of contractors, they're a comfort advisor, that sort of thing. But there is a way, you're there to solve the problem. And I would also kind of piggyback on that. You look at the system as a whole. So it's just not, you're just not changing out of the box for HVAC, but again, the IEQ, you're working about the duct system and, do you have enough insulation here? They used to call it home performance contracting. First of all, it helps people because it's like, these are the 5 things you can do to make your life more comfortable. And it might be $30,000, but you can do 1 and 2 this year and 2 and, 3 and 4 next year or whatever it is. And they can decide what's most important to them. And then it's a way for a contractor to grow his business and be able to get into other things like we're talking about owning the home. So in there, solving a problem rather than selling a system is the right way to go for contractors.
Absolutely. All right. So looking ahead, what do you think some of the biggest challenges and opportunities for the HVAC industry are going to be next half decade?
The biggest challenges is just, new challenges, we'll say, right? Because the ones that are on the table, the workforce development are still issues, whatever. But I would say keeping up with regulations and keeping up with technology. Those are the 2 things that contractors are going to have to do to make sure their business is well positioned to make it through and be prosperous in the near and long term.
Yeah. Technology.
You're surprised that answer was so short, wasn't it?
That was
I blow you to sleep.
It was succinct to the point. It's great.
This guy, I asked the guy one question. He talks for 10 minutes, and all of a sudden he throws it up, and then he gives me one that's like 45 seconds. I didn't know if he didn't know what he was talking about, or he
just knows how to wrap it. But it's great.
Yeah, but I was like, no, I was like, that felt like that was pretty tight. That was good. Yeah,
that was great. I thought I was gonna have time to do my taxes on my other screen or something in the meantime.
There you go. There you go.
But no, Kyle, man, you have been absolutely awesome.
Yes, thank you.
You guys do some really awesome work. If people want to find just more about you, more about the company that you guys are with, where should they be looking?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's a great conversation. I love talking to HVAC all the time, so I appreciate the invite, folks. So ACHRnews.com stands for Air Conditioning, Heating, Refrigeration News.com. So we do have a print publication that comes out every other week. The people certainly enjoy. We're posting that website 4 or 5 times a day. We have podcasts and videos, webinars. You can find us on all the socials, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or X, TikTok, Instagram, all that good kind of stuff. So all these issues that we talked about today, we're tackling those on a daily basis. And like I said, just try to keep provide information for contractors to make money in their business and be profitable. That's our goal. It's a great industry, and we like helping it any way we can.
Yeah, you guys do an awesome job there. Like I said, I try to keep up on it. So being younger, I do still like the print publication. So
I do
Trying to-
too.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Oh, I like to hear.
People think it's strange.
I'll share that. I'll share that with our advertisers.
Yeah, I pick up a newspaper for sure. I feel like my grandma, but I love it. So
Music to my ears. I like it.
all right, Kyle, last question I got for you.
Yeah.
Are the Lions going to the Super Bowl this year?
They're going to the Super Bowl, and I have some financial backing in that with on DraftKings. So yes, we're close last year. They won 2 playoff games last year, and total they have 3 playoff wins since the JFK assassination. So it kind of told you how bad we were for how many years. But we got big heads, and we're feeling ourselves pretty good. So it's Super Bowl or bust in Detroit this year.
Right.
Yeah, it's an interesting milestone reference point, but
Yeah,
I'll give it
absolutely.
to you.
Yeah.
I'm a Cowboys fan, so we'll see how we do.
Hey,
Cautiously
it'd be fun to meet you in the
optimistic.
playoffs. Yeah, it'd be fun
Yeah.
to meet you in the playoffs. Yeah.
Well, at the very least, I'm sure we'll have Thanksgiving together.
There you
Yes,
go. There you go.
Yep, definitely.
All right, Kyle, thank you again so much, man. You've
Thank
been
you,
awesome.
Tyler, so
And,
much.
Yeah, I mentioned at the beginning, we're gonna have to have you back. So,
All right, my pleasure.
all right, take it easy, guys.